Hello, all you Brunt FCA out there, and welcome to Undeclared Bajor.
There's not too many of those.
They're all listening, I know it. My name is Fletcher, about to say hello is Data.
Yo.
And happy Moogie's Day yesterday, when this gets released.
Oh, I was like, geez, am I that far off? That's not good. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. You have not missed it yet. The people listening might have missed it if they're listening way in the future. But today we're going to recap and discuss Season 5, Episode 20 of Star Trek DS9, Ferengi Love Songs, alternate title, The Joy of Zek.
Huh. Okay. Now I can... Apparently this episode went through a few titles.
Oh.
According to the wiki, the working title of the episode, according to Irish Stephen Bear, was How Quark Acquired His Groove Back.
Huh.
Which,
I would respect that.
Yeah, you know. And then at some point it was titled Of Love and Profit.
Meh.
But then we end... It says that there's even one script labeled Final Draft that has that as the title. But in the end, it was Ferengi Love Songs.
Is Of Love and Profit even a saying? Is it a play on something?
I think,
Of Love
yeah.
and War?
Yeah, probably something like that.
Yes.
I was thinking like... is there one that's Profit and Lace?
Profit and Lace? We already have Profit and Loss.
Okay, that's what I was thinking of, probably. I was just like... No, Profit and Lace is, yeah, okay. It is an episode.
Profit
Season
and
6
Lace?
episode. Yeah.
Oh, of DS9?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what, it's like, that title just reminded me of that, of Love and Profit, just felt like that same sort of thing, and I was like, am I imagining that exists?
Just in case this is your first time watching DS9, we will attempt to only discuss spoilers up through this episode, but no promises. Proceed at your own risk. We apparently will spoil future episode titles.
Yep.
And, Planet of the Apes was Earth all along.
Or was it?
Oh my gosh. So, wait, this planet just also had a Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, it could happen.
What a twist. Ferengi Love Songs originally aired April 21st, 1997. It was written by Ira Stephen Bear and Hans Beimler. So we had...
What are these two doing?
We had Robert Hewitt Wolf by himself last time. And now Ira Stephen Bear is teaming up with Hans Beimler. They're really shaking things up.
Yeah.
And directed by René Auberjonois. Or however you say it.
Man, I know we've talked about Hans Beimler before, but I was just rereading his biography in here. And
I know we've talked about him 2 times.
Yeah.
And the only detail I remember is he's named after a hero of something.
Yep, it's named after German communist and hero of the Spanish Civil War, Hans Beimler, his grandfather. Good times.
Nice. And Cirroc Lofton is not in this episode.
No, at this point I'm almost like, man, we should have called this podcast like Cirroc Lofton does not appear in this podcast. Yep.
Oh well. Too late.
Yep.
Diving into our recap this week. They're back. The Vols. As Starfleet wages a fierce battle against the menace inside Quark's bar, Quark paces outside in a foul mood.
It does sound really, intense in there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the Vols cannot be isolated to just Quark's bar. That seems bizarre.
And once again, why isn't this epic battle the story of the episode?
What's weird to me is that I feel like there's an implication in the discussion at the beginning of this episode. It's like, I thought Chief O'Brien got rid of all the Vols. And Quark's like, well, obviously he missed one. And I feel like there's an implication there that Quark has brought in Vols for another Vol fight or something, and then they got loose. But we never go into it. It's just kind of left hanging. Where did the Vols come from? Is this some sort of Dominion sabotage? Or...
I think Quark seems pretty sick of Vols by now. But
yeah.
So Dax tries to comfort him. But it's not just the Vols that have him down. He hates his life. So he goes home to lay down, but he's interrupted by Rom, who has news guaranteed to make him happy. Not a guarantee. Rom and Lita are getting married.
Yeah, I was like, Rom, do you actually know your brother? Like, you gave a really long speech about how this is definitely going to make him happy, and this makes you happy. Uh-huh. When has that ever been something that makes Quark happy?
Yes, this does not cheer up Quark. He's just like, and goes back. And I like, we just saw Rom, like 5 episodes ask out Lita for the first time, even though they seem to have a huge pre-existing relationship, and now they're getting married. So
things have gone really well since, that one episode.
I don't know.
I wanted to go further with this. Like, this episode should have been about Rom bringing Lita home to, like, meet his mom and exposing her to Ferengi culture in various ways.
Yeah, Lita on Ferenginar.
Yeah.
Oh, what a missed opportunity.
Instead, she appears to work at the Jumja stick stand for some reason.
Yeah, I was really trying to figure that out, but we can talk about that when we get to it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Quark is down in the dumps, but Rom has an idea. Who is the one person who's always there for you when you're feeling down, no matter what? Cut to the rainy cityscape of Ferenginar.
His whole spiel, as Rom keeps building this up, and Lita is like looking at him admiringly the whole time, and I get the impression for a while that she thinks he's talking about her, and then there's a moment where she's like, well, I'd love to meet this person. And it felt like such a fake line to me that I was like, is this an infomercial? Is she like, it's like, this knife can cut through an aluminum can. I'd like to see that.
All that orange juice from just one bag of oranges?
Exactly.
No, what I was really thinking of when she said that was Homer saying, like, oh, this leader sounds great.
Oh, yeah, okay. You said liter, and I was thinking, like, unit of measurement. But no, okay, now I'm following.
Now I'm, is that even a real line? I don't even remember.
The classic cult episode?
Yeah, I love that episode. The Joy of Sect. Hey! Anyway, Joy of Zek.
Sure.
But yeah, so we cut to the rainy cityscape of Ferenginar. Quark rings a doorbell and is greeted by Moogie. Yeah, of course that's Moogie. What are you talking about?
Yeah, this episode introduces the new actress Cecily Adams as Ishka. Mm-hmm. Andrea Martin, who previously played the role, found the prosthetics too much.
Yep, as we discussed in the the previous episode.
In case you didn't listen to that episode,
The Sons of Moog or whatever it was called.
Oh man, that would have been an episode title.
I was trying to remember if I'd used that before, and I was like, I think I must have, right? But
who knows? I don't remember what happened in the last episode, let alone like however many episodes ago that was.
But yes, I believe we did tell the story about how whoever it was, like Armin Sherman or Renee Auberjonois.
Yeah, it was Renee.
Convinced her to come, and the only reason she stayed is because he had warned her ahead of time.
Yep.
Yep, that's Moogie. Don't question it. Quark rushes into Moogie's arms, but Moogie looks worried for some reason. But back in the Replomat, Rom, wearing a Bajoran earring, tells Dax and Chief O'Brien about all the fun Bajoran culture he's been learning from Lita, and says they're going to have a traditional Bajoran wedding.
And this is another one where the dialogue felt really weird to me because he starts going off about like his favorite prophecy.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, came to a palace bearing a chalice or whatever, holding a chalice. And then Dax jumps in and is like, bearing no malice. And I thought that she was like making a joke, but then he seems to react as if, no, that's actually the prophecy. So I was like, when did Dax learn these prophecies? All right.
I'm still not clear whether that was supposed to be a joke or not. Because I was like, wait, is that a joke? Like, or like, because he says it in this really weird way. Like, I'm not quite clear if he's like finishing or if he's correcting what she just said.
Oh, I hadn't even thought of that. I just read it as he was finishing the line, like she'd inserted the correct line in there, and I was like, this is a weird conversation.
Yeah, it was played weird. There's some weird moments in this episode.
Yeah.
So, Chief O'Brien asks if Lita is preparing to be a traditional Ferengi wife. Baram says he doesn't care about any of that, as long as she's happy. Wow, say Dax and the Chief. How very un-Ferengi of you.
Yeah, you're not a Ferengi at all.
You might be the least Ferengi there is.
You may as well have no lobes. Ha 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 ha.
Rom is clearly vexed by this, so Dax picks it up and runs with it, saying that no real Ferengi would ever marry a woman like Lita. How could he ever trust her? Good thing you don't have any life experiences that might make you have trust issues with women, right? So good job, O'Brien and Dax. Back at Moogie's house, Quark vents to his mother about all the things that have been going wrong in his life. Moogie is a little confused, as the two of them have never seen eye to eye, but Quark says, "That's true, but you're my mother, and I love you. And also, I need a place to stay indefinitely while I wallow in self-pity."
I mean, technically, it's his house, since she can't own property, so I don't,
That's true. Moogie seems really reluctant to let Quark get to his room, trying to distract him with the offer of tube grubs. And not just tube grubs, pre-chewed tube grubs.
Oh, yeah, he's like, oh, yeah, maybe later.
He's like, ooh, maybe later. But yeah, he doesn't bite. He just goes to his old room and finds that all his stuff is gone, including his Marauder Mo action figures. And someone put Grand Nagus, Zek, and Mayhardu in the closet. Just what he needs right now, the Nagus chewing him out for coming out to Ferenginar while he's under FCA embargo.
I mean, was that one of the rules? Like, you're not allowed to go to Ferenginar, or?
I mean, I don't know how you could go to Ferenginar without doing Ferengi business, so I don't know.
I guess that's probably true.
But, realizes Quark, there's something strange about this situation. Moogie, why is there a Grand Nagus in my closet? Zek quotes Rule of Acquisition number 208. Sometimes the only thing more dangerous than a question is an answer. And this question has the most disturbing answer of all. For you see, Moogie and the Grand Nagus are in love.
So, were they hooking up in Quark's room? Or, like, why is this the closet that he's hiding in?
Yeah, this is a good question. I think, maybe he went to hide in the room, and then when he heard Quark was coming into the room, he went deeper into the closet.
I just feel like no matter who is at the door, whether it be Quark or someone else, her bedroom is probably the last place that they would be likely to go. Quark's bedroom may be almost as unlikely, but if it was Quark, then that is where he... I don't know. It seems like a weird choice to me, regardless.
Well, there's something about this closet. I think maybe there's a transporter pad in there or something. It
is an interesting choice. Yeah. But apparently this storyline was decided on all the way back after they made the first episode where Ishka appears, Family Business. Uh-huh. They were like, oh, we have to bring her back. And they came up with this idea that she'll be involved with Grand Nagus Zek. And then that idea just kind of simmered until this episode came along.
Huh. So yeah, they treat Quark to an engrossing story about passing notes at a Tongo tournament or something. I don't know. I didn't really need to know this whole story, but...
Hey, I mean, I think it's appropriate since she's not supposed to leave home, that we explain how on earth these two could have met.
Yeah, otherwise that could have turned into a nitpick of the week, maybe. Yeah. Then Mayhardu comes in with some jellied gree worms, and Zek and Moogie start getting all lovey-dovey, and the wheels start visibly turning in Quark's head.
How can I make this work for me?
Right.
So there's an interesting bit in here about, like, recasting how they end up with Cecily Adams.
Mm-hmm.
And Renee Auberjonois is talking about how it was tough to recast because lots of great actors came in and did brilliant takes, but they were just so different from the way Andrea Martin had done it, and they wanted it to be, close.
Right.
And so Cecily Adams comes in, not familiar with the role, has never played an alien before, but watches that original episode, and then, being a natural mimic, it says, she comes in for the audition, and she goes, okay, do you want to hear it the way Andrea Martin would do it? And then she just, copied that exactly.
Nice.
And so they were like, oh, that's really good. Although she did have a few issues with, which is why it reminds me in this scene, with particular words that she couldn't quite get. One was Tongo Festival, and another was Mehardu.
Huh. At some point, this is my nitpick of the week. At some point, Zek says Hooperian beetles.
Oh, instead of Hoopirian or whatever?
I don't know. I thought it was Hyperion. But
no, it's always been Hoopirian beetle stuff.
He says it weird. Maybe I'll have to go back and do a replay, but...
Also, apparently Andrea Martin is younger than both Armin Shimmerman and Max Grodenchik, so...
Nice.
That made it weird for her to play their mom, but I think Cecily Adams may be also, according to this. So yeah, basically age was not a major concern given how much, stuff they're putting on her, I guess. So
so Zek leaves. Moogie is worried Quark is going to give her a hard time, but Quark is thrilled. Back in the bar, Chief O'Brien declares victory against the Voles. Rom comes in to ask for an extended lunch break so he can get Lita to sign a prenup that prevents her from owning any property. Or just keeps her from taking his property. I'm never quite clear what the terms of this contract are.
Yeah, it's a little unclear. Also, I don't know how much money he makes working for the Bajoran government as, a technician on the station. But given what we learn at the end of the episode, it seems like it must be less than she makes.
Right.
So I don't think you're bringing as much to this relationship as you think you are, my dude.
Yeah. Well, I think his main concern is that she's not really in love with him.
She's just after that sweet, sweet profit.
Right. Which by itself is absurd, but...
Yeah, right.
So yeah, the chief is doubtful that Lita will sign, and he's right. Lita refuses. Rom accuses Lita of trying to scam him just like his first wife. She's after his vast, vast Rom fortune. Rom calls the wedding off, and Lita storms out. At Moogie's house, Zek and Moogie are doing whatever you call that thing that they're doing. Telling each other that they smell like worms, and their ears are tingling. Quark interrupts, thankfully, and tries to butter the Nagus up, and maybe float the idea of the Nagus reinstating him with the FCA. But Zek sees his plan coming a mile away. He won't intervene with the FCA, that's between Quark and the FCA. And he can't encourage people to go around breaking contracts.
Yeah, and even Quark's mom is like, what you did was wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, is everyone going to ignore that the contract would have required him to kill himself?
Right.
How is his mom, of all people, you should have killed yourself? I don't know what to tell you.
You offered to sell your body parts, and you reneged. Zek and Moogie go off to take a walk in the garden. Quark helps Mehardu clean up, then goes to his room to lay down. But there's a weird transporter-y sound coming from his closet. He opens up the door and finds Brunt, FCA. Of course I'm in your closet. Why are you acting like this is strange? Is what Brunt's face and body language say.
This appears to be this running joke. Appears to be at the center of something of a controversy about this episode that I found in looking through the various notes here.
Okay.
So Ira Stephen Bear is overall unhappy with the way the episode came out.
Sure.
He said, particularly the humor. He goes, "We weren't doing a cartoon. I saw the tone more along the lines of Howard Hawks bringing up baby kind of thing, but we pitched it at too high a level, and I think it's the first time that Zek got away from us. It was a show that worked well in the dailies, in little snippets, But when you put it all together, you're saying enough already. So that's his take. Armin Shimmerman and Renee Auberjonois, however, disagreed with that. Shimmerman goes, it's very much a cartoon. I mean, the idea that the richest, most powerful man alive is in your bedroom closet boggled my imagination. So my response to it had to be cartoony. How else can you respond to something like that? How can you take that seriously? And then Renee Auberjonois is like, I mean, to me, the Ferengi have always been basically cartoon characters. So that's how he saw it. And then there's a note about, like, Cecily Adams is coming in, and she's doing this with the makeup on for the first time. And she's like, I don't know how to act with all this stuff on. And Armin Shimmerman and Renee have to, like, help her. They both have some experience with this, obviously. And Armin's like, hey, it's all in the eyes. If you're doing the work on the inside, it'll show on the outside. And Renee, she says, encouraged me to go even further with the character and just trust that it wouldn't look like overacting. I said to him at one point, I'm afraid I'm going to look like a cartoon character. And he goes, Cecily, have you looked in the mirror? You are a cartoon character. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. So we've got Ira Stephen Bear who's like, this is not a cartoon. And the others are like, it's basically a cartoon. So yeah, the people showing up in the closet seems to be what they're agreeing is the most cartoony aspect of it.
I mean, I was amused by the various running gags in this episode, but I have to admit, it does kind of stretch the humor beyond the normal, like, Deep Space Nine level of humor.
Yeah, that's probably true.
It definitely goes way more into just, like, sitcom territory. So, yeah, Brunt knows all about Zek and Moogie, and does not approve. He fears Moogie corrupting Zek with her radical ideas, and before you know it, women are going to be walking down the street fully clothed.
The horror.
Oh my gosh. He offers a deal. Break up your mother's romance, and I will give you a new business license. And then Quark is immediately like, okay.
Yeah, I love the way he plays that, where he's like, why would I ever want to help you? New business license? You've got a deal.
Yeah. It's like, all right, here we go. And they do like a Ferengi back handshake or whatever. Maybe this is a part. Who is it? Ira Stephen Bear, who's always complaining when aliens shake hands.
Oh, I don't remember, actually. I remember that vaguely, but I don't remember who it was.
Someone was complaining when aliens shake hands. So I guess this is the fix to that. They like slap the back of their hands together.
All aliens should just high five all the time.
So Quark rushes to the Negus's audience chamber or whatever. His little tiny room where he sits on a little tiny throne.
Apparently, that chair that is used as his throne was originally built as the Romulan command chair in the episode The Die is Cast, although it was not used in that episode.
Huh.
So they redressed it for this episode.
Kind of a freebie for the whoever does chairs, props,
yeah. They just got a big chair in the background that they spent all this time working on, and they're like, yeah, bring that out.
Yeah, go get that chair. But yeah, the Nagus is tired of a long day of getting sucked up to and tries to blow Quark off. But Quark plays the old trick of, I'm so happy for you two and so glad you don't pay any attention to those horrible, horrible rumors. And then he lays out a bunch of horrible, horrible rumors of Moogie secretly plotting a feminist revolution on Ferenginar. The Nagus is concerned. Back at Moogie's, Quark sticks a device in his ear that it took me a long time to figure out was supposed to be a gun. I was like, is that an ear cleaner? What is that? Moogie is totally unconcerned with this obvious stunt. Quark claims he's distressed about Zek refusing to reinstate his license, so Moogie says she'll talk to him about it. So Quark is really playing some 3D chess here.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's, given how smart Zek and Ishka are, I'm surprised that Quark is able to work them as well as he does.
Oh shoot, there's a bunch of cast members who aren't going to get residuals for this episode unless we wedge them in. So, Captain Sisko, Worf, and Odo are walking down the promenade discussing a situation involving Martok throwing a guy off a balcony, leading to Martok's arrest. I
do like this little random story that gets thrown in there of like Martok, Worf's trying to argue like, hey, Klingon's gonna Klingon, all right?
Uh-huh.
And Odo's like, oh, well, I don't, I am the police. I don't approve of people being thrown off balconies and almost hitting people. And Worf's super thin. It's like, he almost hit, like, this guy on the way down. And Worf's like, but he didn't, though.
Yeah. Yes, so Sisko finds the obvious solution of let Martok go, but tell him not to throw any more guys off of balconies.
Completely fair.
Then they encounter Rom sobbing over Lita, which Rom tries to play off as tears of joy, and Sisko is all too happy to nod his head and get the heck out of there.
It's like, I don't need to be involved in this any more than I have been in these 2 seconds.
He's like, oh yeah, I gotta get out of this real fast. Up above, Lita vents to Kira, who is not convinced by Lita's protestations that she's happy to be rid of Rom. Lita starts crying when Kira points out that she clearly still loves him.
This bit has me conflicted because or on the one hand, I do like that as the 2 major Bajoran female characters that we've seen working on the station, that they would have a relationship, and Kira gives her good advice here. And actually, I think the 2 of them play this scene really well. It's got a good kind of rhythm to it.
Mm.
Especially the way Nana Visitor is playing it. I think it's done really well. On the other hand, this would have been an opportunity for us to expand on that supposed best buddyship between Dax and Lita.
Yeah.
That has never gone anywhere, but instead it's like, we got to put Nana Visitor in the episode. Let's throw her in this scene. And I'm just like, but we've never got even the slightest indication that these 2 hang out. So why?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Dax obviously would have been the logical person, but Dax kind of started the whole thing, so...
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's, they've talked about on the Delta Flyers podcast that the writers will just, they'll always try to make sure to do this. Even if someone's not in the episode, they'll at least try to, have a voiceover or something where they can say enough to get their residual for the episode.
Ah, interesting.
So I'm always looking out for that now.
Yeah, you couldn't have put Kira at the beginning to have the conversation with Quark because Kira hates him. So that had to be Dax. I guess this didn't necessarily have to be. It just would have made more sense.
Yeah. So yeah, we go from Lita's crying to Moogie's crying. Zek dumped her after she tried to intercede for Quark, for some reason taking it as a sign that he was plotting to overthrow the government. I don't know what he's going to do without me, she says ominously. Quark shrugs that off and calls Brunt with the good news that his mother's heart is broken. Brunt reinstates Quark and congratulates him for being a Ferengi again. And then we get a really weird "I always was" line delivery, but
yeah.
To ease his guilt, Quark jellies his mother some gree worms, but she says she's fine and doesn't need no man, which Quark is happy to take at face value. He gets ready to head back to Deep Space Nine, but then he gets a call from the Nagus, who strangely calls him Rom, but he wants Quark to come see him, whatever his name is. Zek offers Quark the job of first clerk to the Grand Nagus.
Yeah, so did he not already have one of these? It's weird that the job is even open for Quark to take at this point.
He probably just forgot who the first clerk is. Quark is honored and accepts, getting right to work advising Zek on the day's petitioners. But Quark needs Zek's password, and things get awkward when the Nagus can't remember it. Luckily, Mayhardu knows it. Unfortunately, things go downhill as the Nagus struggles with Damon Eigel's question about the duranium market. Quark realizes something is horribly wrong. It's like, who cares about duranium anyway? It's like, Damon Eigel?
Who's
like,
that? Do I like him? That's such a weird question. It was so perfect.
It's like, do I want to give him good advice or bad advice?
And the way he says it too, he's like, do I like him?
So I know someone probably likes him, but is it me? So O'Brien shows up to Rom's quarters to get a tool back or something, where in typical Deep Space Nine fashion, he's just in time to offer some friendly advice. At least they actually put in an excuse for him to be there.
Right.
As compared to some other times they've done this writing trick.
Honestly, what, like when Jake showed up in
Right.
a recent episode at Orion's place? Yeah. I mean, he could. It would have made sense to me if Chief O'Brien, being his boss, just stopped by and was like, "Hey, that was weird. What happened on the promenade earlier? Are you okay, man?"
Uh-huh. Yeah, but instead he just wants his tool back. Maybe it's a pretext. Pretext? It's pretext. Yeah.
Yes, pretext is the word,
not pretense. But yeah, Rom is staring at his latinum, contemplating bribing Lita to get her to sign the contract. But O'Brien points out the logical flaw that if she signs the contract, she just have to give the money back right away.
Which indicates that she can't. It's not just what he's bringing in; it's what she's bringing in also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Rom says he'd give anything to get Lita back. Cut to Lita working at a Jumja stick stand for some reason.
Yeah. I don't...
Like, is this a Quark-owned Jumja stick stand, or is this a side hustle that
maybe
Lita
Quark pays
her
so poorly that she's got to have this side hustle.
I don't know. Well, Rom walks up and announces he doesn't need Lita to sign that contract, for he has given away all his money to charity. Lita does not care that this solution is still based on Rom's underlying distrust, and the two kiss weirdly.
Well, I mean, it has to be weirdly because his prosthetic teeth are, like, dangerous.
That's true. He's got that one, like, really pointy one.
Yeah, that, like, sticks out in a weird direction.
Yes, while they kiss weirdly, up above, Dr. Bashir and Chief O'Brien watch happily. And Julian congratulates Miles for fixing the problem that he started. And gets a paycheck. Quark comes home and finds Moogie eyeing the stock market, which is down 199 points. She admits she knows about Zek's memory problems, and Quark realizes she's been secretly helping him run things.
Like, was she first clerking secretly? Like, how is she doing this without Zek realizing she's doing this? Like, I don't understand.
I think it just speaks to the mental state of Zek.
Well, yeah, but then, like, at the end, he's like, I may be losing my memory, but I'm not dumb. I know that, like, I owe you, Quark, all of my success here.
So, yeah, I think he does. I think he just does know that she's doing everything, and he's just playing along.
Yeah, okay, maybe.
So, yeah, Quark says if he had known, he never would have, and Moogie just figures out the rest, including the part with Brunt. She congratulates Quark for single-handedly destroying Ferengi civilization. Brunt, FCA, finds Quark in the Nagus chamber, looking over a bunch of pads. He points out that the last time the market fell this much, it was the only time the Nagus got assassinated, which... What? Like, remember when Quark became the Nagus, and there was, like, constant assassination plots against him?
Yeah, apparently that's completely unusual.
Yeah. That's only ever happened one other time. And that Nagus's clerk got buried right along with him. And then Brunt FCA reveals his evil plan to exploit the disastrous market plummet caused by a forgetful Zek no longer having a cunning girlfriend to help him with his decisions, and use that to seize the throne for himself.
It's a convoluted plan, but it works.
Yeah?
Or almost works.
Later, Moogie bitterly chides Quark for being a true Ferengi, betraying his friends and family for personal gain. But he admits that all this time around humans has warped him, and he's developed a conscience. Yeah, shut up, who cares, says Moogie. Brunt must be stopped. Quark realizes that Brunt's personal greed does not reflect the greed of the people.
I love that this is like the patriotic speech
right.
in Ferengi context. It's great.
It's like the Nagus has to have a special kind of greed that encompasses the greed of the entire Ferengi civilization. So Brunt must not be allowed to become Nagus. So Quark and Ishka sit down and start scheming together, which I thought was a fun little... I don't know if it was like a director choice or... But, so they cut to Zek, Quark, and Mayhardu happy at the Nagus' impressive performance at the FCA hearing. Zek gives Quark full credit. Oh, by the way, so they sat down and schemed together, and apparently their plan was just go with Zek to the hearing and help him through it. But I just realized that that's a little weak, but...
Yeah, it seems like it should be obvious to everyone what's going on here, but whatever.
Yeah, but yeah, Zek gives Quark full credit, revealing that he's fully aware of his memory issues. He decides to find a Vulcan doctor to fix it. So next time you see him, he's going to be back to normal. We're not going to do any more of this forgetful Zek stuff.
Well, so Wallace Shawn has a comment in here that's after the episode airs saying, I love what they're doing with Zek. He's losing his memory now and trying to bluff his way through situations. I don't know how they'll deal with it in future episodes, but I look forward to finding out.
I mean, they dealt with it in this episode, so...
Yeah, we'll never see it again is the answer.
Although it seems like Zek has lost his mind a lot. If you count that time the wormhole aliens changed him, but
true. Well, that's because it's Wallace Shawn, and you have to let him play crazy,
right? But yeah, Zek wants Quark to stay on as his financial advisor, but Quark knows a better person, and then we do a ridiculous reveal as if we don't know who that person in the hood is going to be. It's Moogie.
Who could it be?
It's like, is it Rom? Zek is quickly convinced, and he and Moogie begin showering each other with gross innuendo.
Yep.
Quark packs to go home to Deep Space Nine. Moogie brings him his old Marauder Mo action figures, which he can't wait to sell on Space eBay.
Yeah, I mean, you know how much these are worth?
Right.
So...
Not as much as if he kept them in the package.
The Marauder Mo action figures are redressed Super Patriot figures from the McFarlane Spawn action figure line of the mid-90s. Huh. Two of them are holding energy whips made from pipe cleaners.
I did notice a lot of pipe cleaner action going on. And I was wondering, it's like, wow, did they make custom Ferengi? I guess they didn't.
But apparently, the joke about having I can't talk. The joke about taking them out of the packaging was Hans Beimler getting in a dig at Ira Steven Bear, and he says, Ira's one of those guys who buys all these toys and never opens them, and God forbid you should open one because it'll make them less valuable.
It's an interesting detail about Ira,
yeah.
Which I believe.
Yeah, 100%.
And do the Ferengi have Ferengi Bay?
Ooh, good pun.
Anyway, Brunt FCA shows up again in Quark's closet, and he says that Quark may have won this round, but Brunt isn't finished yet. And he's going to let Quark keep his business license, so he can inevitably make a mistake and wind up in bigger trouble than he was before somehow. Even though what he went through before seemed like the ultimate punishment they have, but...
So I guess there must have been a sliding door in the back of the closet to let people in and out or something, or do you think that they were filming entire scenes with the person standing in the closet for most of it?
Yeah, I'm sure there just was no wall in the back of the closet, or there was a big hole. I don't know. But yeah, Quark puts Brunt back in the closet and cheerfully plays with his action figures while his mother calls him to dinner. The end.
Yep, that's the end. Everything worked out for all the Ferengi, except for Brunt FCA.
Right. And even he's not doing so bad, he claims, so...
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. If and when he shows up again, how he's been doing.
Yep, and I'm more convinced than ever that he's just another Wayun clone. And also that he's Pervalian.
Pervalian, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. They are all the same. So you got more stuff?
There was very little on this episode. There's a couple other notes that I didn't do. One of them, this is the 6th episode directed by Renee Auberjonois. So,
oh, wow.
There's that.
For
some reason, it felt like more to me, but...
I felt like we'd only had 1 or 2.
Interesting.
But
Apparently it's 6. And the one other note that I have left is that, Quark clearly, we just said, gets his business license back. If you watch closely, you see the FCA notice that Brent puts on the wall in his bar has stayed there throughout all of the episodes since Body Parts, when he loses his license.
Yep.
But it will be removed before the next episode, Soldiers of the Empire.
Nice. Good continuity.
Yep, solid continuity.
Yep, I always see that thing back there. I'm like, oh, Ferengi can't be in here. But it doesn't matter most of the time, so.
Yeah, right. Like, how often has this felt relevant?
Right.
Only when Quark complains about it, I guess.
Yep. You just can't do all those opportunities that you could do if you had a Ferengi business license.
Yeah, it didn't stop him from working with his cousin, clearly, and didn't stop him from making all those investments that went so badly.
Right.
That forced him to work with his cousin.
Well, that was like on a different stock exchange, so that was okay.
Right, yeah.
But the Ferengi stock exchange is where it's at.
Maybe.
I don't know. All right, so you want to move into reviews?
Yeah, what did you think of this one?
So, okay, let's see what I got. So, I mean, I'm kind of mixed on it. I didn't super love... I mean, I like that the A story and the B story are so parallel.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's like, while Quark, the story kind of, following up on Business as Usual, which was only 2 episodes ago, kind of reestablishes his Ferengi identity and merges it together with his not wanting bad stuff to happen to other people.
Yeah.
Quality that he's discovered in himself. And then
conscience, yeah.
Yeah. And then, on the other hand, Rom just basically gives up on trying to be a Ferengi and goes all in on his relationship with Lita. So, I liked that, that whole aspect of it. Especially the part about Quark's identity, which I thought was a nice little, follow up from Business as Usual.
Okay.
I mean, I was amused by the comedy, but it was a little weird for a Deep Space Nine episode. It had this weird effect that it makes it only feel like 5 people live on the whole planet of Ferenginar. Yeah, but I don't know, that's maybe just a minor thing. I mean, when I was first watching the episode, I was a little like, I wasn't enjoying it so much. When I was watching it, especially early on, but afterwards, when I was thinking about it, I did like all the stuff that I've mentioned before, and I kind of liked it more and more the more I was thinking about it. But it's really tough. I think I will give it a commander.
Okay.
Even though it's I feel like it's definitely I was maybe even below the line at points when I was watching it.
Yeah.
But then after I watched it, I was like, I could give that a lieutenant commander. And now that I've just think about it more and more, I think I can just give it a full-on commander.
Yeah, it's growing on you. Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff I liked in it. And even if, the tone was weird and at a lot of points, and I don't need to see Zek and Moogie, doing all that stuff. But
yeah,
I think it was pretty good now that I look back on it. So,
okay.
What do you think?
Well, okay, so you got to start with, as we generally do, Wallace Shawn is always just great.
Oh, right. Of course.
You can't beat that, generally speaking. And it is
Jeffrey
a little...
Combs.
Yeah, and Jeffrey Combs, 100%. I can't agree that it goes a little much on the, Moogie, Zek, Levy stuff, which is weird.
Uh-huh.
But that part I'm cool with. And I like... It is a little fast to jump into, Rom and Lita are going to get married, but I like that direction. I like you said, the parallel of the stories, and I like that we're developing Rom as a separate entity, which we've been doing for a little while now, but this is just a continuation of that, and I appreciate that, because that was a character that was just an appendage of Quark for such a long time, and that started out, in that, you mentioned that earlier episode with the Nagits, where he's trying to kill his brother in that episode.
Uh-huh.
And we've come a very long way since then.
Yep.
So I like all of that. It feels too soon to me to do another Ferengi episode after the one that we just had. And one of the things about this episode is Quark has a conscience now, which is what that previous episode was about 2 episodes ago.
Right.
And so I feel like we're making the same point unnecessarily fast after the last time we already made this point. And it might have felt different to me if it didn't feel like a continuation of that to me. It felt like a rehashing of that, because we do the same thing where we start out with Quark doing, quote, bad thing, even though I still don't necessarily agree that him deciding to sell weapons, we talked enough about that in that episode, was a bad thing in and of itself. But whatever. We start out with him being bad for his personal gain, and then realizing that, oh, the things I do affect other people, and I'm being a jerk, and I should not do that. So, like, if it had been like, oh, he has this conscience that he accepted that he has in an episode 2 episodes ago, and now he doesn't do the bad thing, even though everyone expects him to act like this Ferengi and be only out for himself. He's not quite that same person anymore. That would have played more like, that would have felt like a continuation of that story to me. Instead, it felt like we just told the same story again, but shorter. And so, yeah, I don't like that aspect of it, that we're following up and doing the same story again so quickly. That's probably the main thing that I didn't like about the episode. There's lots of stuff that I do like in the episode. I think that all the acting is, we're doing pretty well, even though we're relying pretty heavily on guest stars here.
Yeah.
And even Lita, who is not a regular at this point, she's recurring, but she's still like a guest star. And even the B story is relying a lot on her. Not as much as on Rom, who's maybe closer to regular than Lita. But yeah, we have a lot of actors that are doing a lot of work, and I think they're all doing it well.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out exactly where I'm ending up here, because this is, after some of the stuff you said, I think I was ready to put this like pretty close to being on the line for me. But you brought up some good points, and in the discussion, I'm kind of in the same boat where I'm like, I've come to appreciate the good things about the episode and be less upset about like the parts that I was unhappy with, as we've discussed it. I don't know. I don't think it goes all the way to Commander for me. I think I'm going to say Lieutenant Commander on this one.
All right. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, when you're watching it, there's just something kind of like jarring. And like I said, it's like sitcom-y.
Yeah.
But it's like, on reflection, it's all the stuff about it, the main stuff kind of works. And like my thinking on the whole Quark is that it wasn't like it was like bringing him full circle. Like, we learned that he has a conscience. And then here we get to see him go back to Ferenginar and kind of reclaim his Ferenginess on his own terms. And kind of see that he still is all that. Like, he still wants to be a Ferengi. He's still all in on that. It just, now he's kind of incorporated, he's had this realization about himself, and he's kind of incorporated it into his identity. And as a reward, he gets his Ferengi-hood back. So
interesting. Okay.
Like, when I was first watching it, I was a little annoyed. I was like, this is how we're giving Quark his license back, kind of like with Odo. I was like, this is how we're giving Odo his powers back.
Yeah.
But like, on reflection, I think it really, like, works. So I don't know, that's just me. But
I do have to say that in hindsight, one of the things that I appreciate about this episode is that it's opening a door, and very kind of stealthily, to the possibility of growth for the Ferengi as a society.
Yep, for sure.
Because we've now got like the guy in charge of their society, the person that he's depending on to run things, has a very like radical view for them of like what women's rights should be and stuff. Yep. And so even though she's like, I feel this way, I hope that you'll feel this way at some point, she's telling him, I'm not going to try to hurt you to advance this agenda. But at the same time, you're like, well, she's going to be in his ear all the time. And if this is how she feels, that's going to come through. So you're opening this opportunity for them to develop, which is something that we really haven't had before now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like that was pretty deliberately set up, you know, which says, like, I still believe in women's rights and all that stuff. So who knows? Brunt's prophecy may come true. Okay, how about a title review?
Honestly, I like the title better before I figured out that that we could have had, like, how Quark acquired his groove back.
That's true. I do like the title, though.
I think that it's a decent title.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. It's what the episode is about.
Yep.
So, it's definitely relevant. What are our criteria? Relevance, cleverness, and...
Yeah. I don't know that it felt all that clever to me. Like, we established that it's not really like a take or a pun on anything. It's just kind of... But it is memorable in that I can connect this title to what the episode is about.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, even though it's not like a super clever title, it's a solid title.
Yeah, agreed. It's a solid title. It's doing its job, and it's doing it well. And it's also not one of those that's guilty of them trying to be a little too clever, because that happens sometimes too. And you're like, really, you kind of took that far. So, I feel like if we're gonna ding them for going too far to stretch to try to make the title cute, then I can't ding them too hard for going the other way and being like, well, I'm just gonna use a good title, even though it's not like cutesy.
Yeah. So, and although how Quark requisitioned or acquired his groove back or whatever, would have been great. That's a Futurama episode.
Yeah, that is. I keep thinking of that episode when
Even though that would have been a great title, I'm glad I don't have to try to fit it onto the thumbnails or into the leaderboard, because I'm sure it would bleed over.
Probably, yeah.
All right. So, any final thoughts?
No.
I wrap it up there. So, yep. That's our review for Ferengi Love Songs. If you enjoyed that, you can listen to our review of the Nagus, the first episode with the Nagus in it, or what was the one with the first one with Moogie?
Family
Business.
Yeah, that sounds right. I just read this a minute ago and I've already forgotten. Yeah. I think that's right.
Or what was the other one I was thinking?
Yes, Family Business. That's the one.
Yeah. So,
or Body Parts, that came up in this. And,
totally. Yeah, check out our review for Body Parts with Brunt FCA.
Yep.
So,
one where Brunt suddenly just really hates Quark for no reason.
Right. Because he's not a true Ferengi, Brunt has
everything wrong with Ferengi society.
Brunt is like an extreme, like, reactionary for what a Ferengi should be. I don't know, but yeah, you can find all those past episodes, and maybe future episodes if you're listening to this in the future, wherever you're listening to this. If you want to leave us a comment, you can do that on YouTube, which you can go on YouTube and type Undeclared Bajor, or go to www.undeclaredbajor.com. My name is Fletcher. About to say goodbye is Data.
Adios.
We look forward to seeing you for our next discussion, but remember, do stand between me and any Ferengi food.
Also, all the Ferengi love stuff going on.
Stand way between me and that.
I'll be in the other room.
Right.